One thing I hear a lot at the track, what air pressure should my drag radials be run on? This is a very loaded question. There's a lot of variables. It completely depends on the tire, suspension setup, anti-squat. It depends on the weight of the vehicle. It depends on the shock settings. It all makes a difference. All that plays a role in how to properly set your air pressure. So when people ask me, what do I set my air pressure at? I give a answer that a lot of people think is vague or maybe even being kind of rude. Hey man, what kind of pressure you got in that tire? It wrinkles up a lot. 14 to 18 PSI. That's the general rule of thumb, and it's all going to make a difference based on your setup. It depends on your tire. Are you running a Mickey Thompson Pro bracket radial, or are you running the Mickey Thompson 275 Pro radial? The sidewalls are made different. They have different requirements for air pressure. I'm only familiar with the 28-inch tire stuff. The Pro bracket radial is what I'm currently running. I've run the Pro a long time ago, but generally the Pro bracket radial works for me. So I have no experience with the bigger stuff or the smaller stuff, only the 28-inch tall stuff or 275. This is the Pro bracket radial. The part number on this tire is 3355R, and you can see it's basically, it is not DOT approved, and it has more of a slick construction. It has a slick surface. Sidewall is still radial. The tire is constructed with a radial fashion, so it's not bias ply, so it will not grow like a slick does, and it gives much more stability on the big end. It's a lot easier to drive. The only problem is with any radial, sometimes you get into tire shake, and that's where you have to adjust your air pressure. So tire shake can almost always be seen on the track. Take a look at it, see if you see the skips. I'm sure you felt it in the car. It probably rattled your insides. For the next pass, I added 1 pound of air pressure and tightened the compression on the shocks 2 clicks. It stopped the shake. And sometimes if you knock the tire off and spin, it could mean the air pressure was too high, so it needs to be dropped 1 pound. But adjusting air pressure is only one tool in your bag of tricks. Don't be afraid to make changes, take notes, and make frequent changes and adjustments. So probably one of the most important tools at the racetrack, and probably the most neglected that people don't think about very often, is the tire pressure gauge. So that 14 to 18 PSI range that I gave you earlier, it's going to vary based on your tire pressure gauge. My pressure gauge may read 14, yours may read 13, and your neighbor's may read 16. They're all variable, they're all different. And you can see I've got several here. So I mean, you know, we got the one on our handy dandy pump that we use. This is what we use for emergency tire pressure adjustments in the lane, but it also has a pressure gauge on it. This is one that I used to use a while back, and then this is currently the one that I use now. It's backlit and it's digital, so you know, they're all a little bit different though. So let's see exactly how different these three are on the same tire at the same time. Okay, so here's my 3 gauges. So first we're going to use this digital one. Let's see what it does. It's a max hold. So that one says 15.7. Let's see what the gauge here shows. 15.7. I got 2 matching ones. That's pretty impressive. Let's see what the last one says here. Now, it is not a max hold. So we're going to get this one here. Now that one shows 13. A little bit less than 13. So now that's a problem. That's one of the big deals with using your air pressure gauge. So I've got 2 that read the same thing and 1 that is off. My buddy's, his may be a ½ pound off or a ¼ pound off or 1 pound off. So make sure when you're talking about air pressure, you're using your gauge only and you're using it exclusively. If you leave it at home and you have to borrow your buddy's gauge, off, your air pressure is going to be off most likely. So it's very important. Keep yours, use yours only, and go by your data. And go by your data only. So if you start off at that baseline of 16 and it looks like it needs air pressure, then you add in 1 pound increments. If it looks like it needs less, then drop it in 1 pound increments. And that'll help you at least make sure that you're consistent, your car is consistent, and don't worry about what anybody else says. You know, if yours is reading, if your gauge, like that gauge that I had that is wrong, if I know my car works best with it on 13, it doesn't matter if everybody tells me, your car will never work on 13 pounds as long as it's working. So check those tire pressure gauges, pick one you like, use it, don't use anybody else's. If you don't mind, comment, like, and subscribe. Appreciate it. Until next time.